But when I was at Marcus, I had, we used to have a national call to present listings, and everyone, go into these conference rooms and they'd log in everyone. It was big technology at that point. This is not Zoom. This is and people you'd have to present listings. And they presented a listing of a Burger King, and I had a family member who worked for the company. And I said, I called them up after I saw this listing of the Burger King. It was a company called Carroll's Corp at the time.
Okay.
And they were selling the property for an 8 cap. So I called up this family member and I said, hey, you're doing business with my firm and you're not doing, he's like, no, we're not doing business with your firm. We sold, 10 of our properties to pay for an acquisition to a REIT, and the REIT is selling the properties through Marcus and Millichap. And I said, what was the cap rate? And this is in about, I'm trying to think, 99, actually probably around 2000, 2001. I sometimes get my dates and times mixed up. But basically, they said, we sold to this REIT. And I said, what did you sell at? And they said, we sold at a 10 cap. I'm like, well, these guys are selling it at an 8 cap. Why wouldn't you just hire us to sell it at an 8 cap? And that was my first sale leaseback foray of getting out of hotels, and convinced them to list a property with me, sold it, learned a little bit about what these tenants were wanting, both from flexibility and studying the leases and everything else. So a theme through my career has always been learning from people and clients. Like I said, I learn best from actions and seeing people who are smart doing what they were doing. So we still run the program for Carroll's up till about a year ago. They sold to RBI Burger King. And over that period of time, I think we've sold about 450 properties for them. Wow. And it's just been a theme of that was how I got into it. So once we started that, we started going to all the tenants that were selling to these REITs at high cap rate and said, we could run a program for you. And that's really how my brokerage business took off.
Your family member, dad, no, it wasn't dad. Dad was a principal. Uncle.
So my uncle was the one who worked for Carroll's Corp.
And was he in a real estate role, or was he an ops? I'm curious.
He was president of the company at the time and then became the CEO. But and he is one of my big mentors in life. But he was very much, you got to earn it. So I had this idea, is you can come in, present to the real estate people, present to the COO. And it took about 6 months to get that first listing. But I learned such a ton of how companies thought about their real estate, the different internal dynamics at some of these places. And really then we went on to Arby's after that. There's a company called Meritage Hospitality that was a 30-unit Wendy's franchisee. They're still clients today. I'm actually going to Grand Rapids tomorrow to meet with them again. They went from, I think, 30 locations. They're 400 locations. We've probably done 200 transactions with them. But a theme through my career has always been, relationships over transactions, learning, partnering. And the people that I met at those times, were usually junior or mid-level. And as their career rise and I treated them right, it sort of bolstered my career and sort of grew into these roles with a lot of these clients.
That's amazing. Really unbelievable path. So you caught wind of the concept of a sale leaseback by sitting in on a sales team meeting at Marcus, and you eventually were able to secure the listing for Carroll 6 months later. At this point, you're 2 years in, right? Because you had the 18-month stint of being the East Coast hotel salesperson that didn't do a transaction. Then you, I guess, either simultaneously or thereafter had a pivot. You were able to keep the lights on and survive and stay resilient and remain in the business until you had your first sale leaseback listing and closing with Carroll's. Talk to us about your evolution from there. Obviously your career has done quite a bit since then.
So I did get a referral on closing a hotel on the East Coast. I made $23,000 in 18 months. And then after that 18 months, it was another 12. So it was almost 3 years to the first Carroll's closing. The evolution happened. It started to snowball at that point. The Carroll's went from 1 deal to 5 deals to 10 deals. We then got in with Arby's. We then got in with Panera Bread. These were all like clients that were selling to REITs at that time. And although like you talk about the industry today, there really wasn't, and that listing was not a sale leaseback. The original Carroll deal was a sale of a REIT of an existing lease down the road. So my pitch was to these tenants, and it's very similar to what it is today. The industry and the market has evolved a lot, but hey, we're going to get you better pricing. We're going to get you a better lease, and we can do this at scale. And I started really pushing that narrative in the franchise space, like I said, right around 2000. And there was really no direct way to access the private market. And it was 200-300 basis points wide in cap rate of what people would pay in terms of cap rate to what their institutions were paying at the time.
Wow. Yeah, that's the opportunity for correction. Sounds like you were quite the pioneer in helping get corrected for those sellers.